I'm Not So Dumb by Ray Bradbury. And this story is 80 years old this year. It's 1944. Oh, I'm not so dumb. No, sir. When those men at Spaulding's Corner said there was a dead man hereabouts, you think I ran quick to the sheriff's office to give in the news? You got another think coming. I turned around and walked off from them men, looking over my shoulder every second or so to see if they were smiling at me, their eyes shining with a prank. And I went to stare at the body first. It was Mr. Simmons' body in that empty, echoed farmhouse of his where the green weeds grew thick for years, and there was a larkspur, bluebird sprouts, and morning fires fringing the path. I tromped up to the door, knocked, and when nobody said they was home, I squeaked the door open and looked in. Only then did I get going for the sheriff. On the way, some kids threw rocks at me and laughed. I met the sheriff coming. When I told him, he said, yes, he knew all about it. Get out of the way. And I shied off, letting him and Mr. Crockwell, smelling of farm dirt, and Mr. Willis, smelling of hardware hinges, and Jamie McHugh, smelling of soap and scent, and Mr. Duffy, smelling of bar beer past. When I got back to the lonely gray house, they were inside, bending around like a labor crew working a ditch. Can I come in? I wondered. And they grumbled, no, go away. You would only be underfoot, Peter. That's the way it was. People always shake me to one side, chortling at me. Those folks who told me about the body, you know what they expected? Expected me to call the sheriff without stopping to see if they was lying or not. Not me, not anymore. I realized what was on last spring when they sent me jogging for a skyhook and shoreline for the 27th time in as many years. And when I sweated all the way down the shore wave to Wembley's Pier to fetch a pentagonal monkey wrench, which I never found in all my tries from the age of 17 up on to now. So I fooled them this time by checking first and then running for help. The sheriff slouched out of the house half an hour later, shaking his dusty head. Poor Mr. Simmons, his head is all rucked in like the skin of a rusted potbelly stove. Oh, I asked. The sheriff flickered a mean yellow glance at me, switching his mustache around on his thin upper lip, balancing it. You damn right it is. A murder mystery, huh? I asked. I won't say it's a mystery, said the sheriff. You know who done it? I asked. Not exactly, and shut up, snapped the sheriff, thumb-rolling a cigarette, and sucked it into half-ash with his first flame. I'm thinking. Can I help? I asked. You? Snorted the sheriff, looking up at me on top of my mountain of bones and body. Help? Ha! Everybody laughed, holding rib bones like bundles of breathing sticks and blowing out cheeks and glittering their sharp, shiny eyes. Me help, that was sure something to tickle. Mr. Crockwell, he was the farmer man, he laughed, and Mr. Willis, he was the hardware store man, and tough as a rail spike, he laughed like tapping a sledge on a beam iron, and Mr. Duffy's Irish bartender laugh made his tongue jig around pink in his mouth, and Jamie McHugh, who had run away if you yelled boo, he laughed too. I've been reading Sherlock Holmes, I said. The sheriff raked me over. Since when you reading? I can read, never mind, I said. Think you can solve mysteries, eh? Cried the sheriff. Get the hell away before I boot that big rump off you. Leave him be, Sheriff, laughed Jamie McHugh, waving one hand. He clicked his tongue at me. You're a first-rate sleuth, ain't you, Peter? I blinked at him 6 times. Sleuth, Detective Sherlock Holmes, I mean, said Jamie McHugh. Oh, I said. Why, hi, laughed Jamie McHugh. I'd bet my money on Big Peter here any day. Strong, strapping lad, Sheriff. He could solve this case with one shuffle of his big left shoe, couldn't he, men? Mr. Crockwell winked at Mr. Willis, and Mr. Willis tonked a laugh out like cleaning your pipe on a flat stone, and everybody shot little sly glances at the sheriff, nudging one another's ribs and chuckling. Sure, I'd bet good money any autumn that Peter there. On Peter there, here's 50 cents, says Peter can solve the case before the sheriff, said Jamie. Now look here, bellowed the sheriff, standing still. Here's 70 cents, says the same, drawled Mr. Willis. And here came round money, silver shining and green money like little wings flapping on their hairy hands. The sheriff kicked a boot angrily. Ah, damn it, no feeble-minded giant can solve any murder case with me around. Jamie McHugh tilted back and forth on his heels. Scared? Hell's Gate, no. But you're all riding my goat. We mean it. Here's our money, Sheriff. You meeting it? The sheriff cracked. He sure as hell would, and did. Everybody boomed out laughter like on bass drums and with brass trumpets. Somebody slapped me on the back, but I didn't feel it. Somebody yelled for me to go in there and show him. Peter, show him. But it was all underwater, far away. Blood pounded around on big red boots in my ears, kicking my brain back and forth like a wrinkled football. The sheriff looked at me. I looked at him with my heavy hands hanging. He laughed right out. God, I'll solve this case before Peter has time to open his mouth for spit. The sheriff wouldn't let me in the room with the corpse unless I stood on one leg and put both hands out in the air. I had to do it. The others said it was fair. I did it. I stood there during most of the time we talked on one leg, hands out to balance, and then snickering when I toppled. And them snickering when I toppled. Well, I said over the corpse, he's dead. Brilliant! Jamie McHugh had a bone of laughter caught in his throat, choking him. And he's been head bashed, I said, with a heavy thing. Colossal! Wonderful! Spluttered Jamie. And no woman done it, I said, because a woman couldn't have done it so heavy and hard. Jamie laughed less. True enough. He glanced at the other's eyebrows up a tremor. That's true. We didn't think of that. That counts out all females, I said. Mr. Crockwell teased the sheriff. You didn't say that, Sheriff. The sheriff's cigarette hissed sparks on a 4th of July pinwheel. I was going to say it. Damn, anyone can see a woman didn't do it. Peter, you go stand in the corner and do your talking. I stood in the corner on one foot. And, I said, shut up, said the sheriff. You've had your say, let me have mine. He hitched up his trousers on his rump. Silence. The sheriff scowled. Well, like he says, the man's dead, head stove in, and a woman didn't do it. Ha ha, said Mr. Crockwell. The sheriff shot him a blazing look. Mr. Crockwell covered his mouth with his hand. And the body's been dead 24 hours, I said, sniffing. Any dimwit knows that, yelled the sheriff. You didn't say that before, said James McHugh. Do I have to say it? Can't I think a few? I looked around the empty room. Mr. Simmons was a strange man, living alone with no furniture in the house and only carpets here and there with one cot upstairs. Didn't want to spend money on stuff. Saved it. I said, there wasn't much fuss or fight. Nothing's upset. Must have been killed by someone he trusted. The sheriff started to swear, but Jamie McHugh said for him to let me talk. This was damn interesting. The others said so too. I smiled. I closed my eyes, grinning soft, and opened them again, and everyone looked at me for the first time in my life as if I was good enough to stand beside them. I stepped from the corner slowly. I crouched beside Mr. Simmons, looking. He was blood-ripe. The sheriff quick followed, imitating me on his knees. I peered close. The sheriff peered close. I fussed with the rug. Sheriff fussed with the rug. I smoothed Mr. Simmons' right sleeve. Guess who smoothed Mr. Simmons' left sleeve? I made a humming sound like a comb and tissue in my throat. The sheriff ground his teeth together. Everybody stood high and sweating sour in the summer-heated quiet. What was that about him being murdered by a friend? Mr. Crockwell wanted to know. Sure, I said. Someone he trusted. No commotion. That's right, said Mr. Willis, who didn't speak much. Everybody said it was right, all right. Now, I said, what people didn't like the cold man here. The sheriff's voice was high and stringy with irritation. Simmons wasn't liked by many, always fighting with folks, tetchy-like. I looked at the men, wondering which one I could detect to be the murderer. My eyes kept snapping in rubber band moves to Jamie McHugh. Jamie was always flighty. You lost your matchbox and stared at Jamie. He'd whine guilty. I didn't take it. If you dropped a nickel and it went away, Jamie'd say, I didn't do it. Funny, something scared him as a kid. All the time he felt guilty, whether or not he was. So I couldn't help but see him now and go up and down him with my eyes. Him so nervous and losing his head over things. Just opposite of Hardware Willis, who would stand rock stiff while lightning bounced around him. I heard Jamie say Mr. Simmons should be killed, I said. Jamie opened his eyes. I never said that, and if I did, you know how you say things you never mean. I heard you say it anyways. Now, said Jamie 3 times. You are not sheriff for this city. You just shut your trap. The sheriff fox grinned. What's the matter with you, Jamie? A second ago you was egging Peter on. I'll head up for his side. I don't want anybody accusing me, that's all, you big slob, Jamie said to me. Go stand on one foot in the corner. I didn't blink my eyes. I heard you say Mr. Simmons should be dead. You look sort of nervous, Jamie, remarked the sheriff. I remember, said Mr. Willis. You did say that, Jamie. Say, Peter, you got a good memory, he nodded at me smartly. I bet fingerprints of Jamie are around here, I said. Sure, Jamie cried, pale. Sure they're here. I was here yesterday afternoon to try to get back my $30 from that damn scoundrel lying limp on the floor, you elephant. You see, I said, he was here, his fingerprints all around like ants at a picnic. And I added, I bet if we looked in his pocket, we'd find Mr. Simmons' wallet full of money. I bet we would. Nobody looks through my pockets. I'll do it, I said. No, said Jamie. Sheriff, I said. The sheriff looked at me, looked at Jamie. Jamie, he said. Sheriff, said Jamie. Who was it picked me to solve this case, I said. Jamie did, Sheriff. The sheriff's cigarette hung cold on his lip, twitching. That's right. Why do you want me solving it, Sheriff? I asked, and answered because he thought you'd only kick up mud in the creek, because he thought I'd only kick up mud in the creek, rile you so you wouldn't get nothing done. Well, damn, imagine that, murmured the others, moving back. The sheriff squinted tight. Peter, I got to admit you got something. Jamie was sure hot to bring you up to mess around. He started them goddamn bets. Irritated me with you until I can't see beans for breakfast. Yes, I said. Well, now, I didn't kill nobody. I didn't sick Peter on you for that purpose, Sheriff. Oh, no, I didn't, said Jamie McHugh, sweat gobbering out of his head like water from them fancy park sprinklers, systems in the concrete skulls of them pretty naked women statues. The sheriff said, Let Peter search you. Jamie said no as I grabbed his wrists with one big hand and held them while I put my other hand in his rear pants pocket and pulled out the dead man's wallet. No, whispered Jamie like a ghost. I let him go. He swung around next thing, gibbering, and slammed out the door, crying before anybody could stop him. Go get him, Peter, everybody yelled. You really want me to? I asked. You're not kidding, like with the skyhook and shoreline? No, they cried. Get him. I thundered out the door and ran after Jamie in the hot sun over a green hill, through a little woods. What if Jamie gets away, I thought. No, he can't do that. I'll run fast. Near the edge of town, I caught up with Jamie. He never should have tried to fight me. Crunch. So people sit around the sheriff's office on summer evenings, dangling their shoes in a little laced pattern and speaking with smoke billowing from their easy mouths about how the sheriff let me solve the case. And the sheriff says he don't care. He's just as pleased that I caught the criminal as if he'd done it himself. But the sheriff winces when he says this. Kids on the street don't kick my shins no more or throw rocks at me. They come ask to hold my hands as we walk downtown. They ask me to tell how I did it. Even ladies in pretty blue or green dresses look over back fences and ask. And I shine up the battered silver star the sheriff had left over 20 years ago, catch it on my chest where it sparkles, and I tell everybody again how I solved the Simmons case and caught the murderer, Jamie McHugh, who broke his neck trying to get out of my hands. Nobody ever tells me to run get a skyhook or shoreline or a left-handed screwdriver no more. They think my silences are thinking ones. Men nod at me from cars and say, Hello, Peter, and they don't laugh so much. They sort of admire me, and just this morning asked me if I intended solving any more cases. I'm very happy, happier than in all my days. I'm certainly glad now that Mr. Simmons died, and I had a chance to catch Jamie McHugh that way. No telling how much longer those people might have pestered me. And if you'll promise, cross your heart, hope to die, spit over your left shoulder not to tell nobody, I'll let you in on a little secret. I killed Mr. Simmons myself. You understand why, don't you? As I said at the beginning, I'm not so dumb.